What's up, everybody? Okay, I was gonna do this video eventually. This is obviously one of my favorite songs ever. One of my favorite rap videos ever. One of Nas's best songs ever. Arguably the best video, maybe, in his catalog. In my honest opinion, this is the video I always come back to. This and Nas is like, I come back to a lot in terms of rap videos. So, Made You Look. I was shocked to find out that this came out in 2002. See, September 22, 2002, I was listening to Nas, but I had no idea this was even out. Like, what's really interesting to me is that I remember this era as like the Sean Paul right before 50 took over. Like, that's kind of what I remember, like when I was outside in the clubs. This was college for me. This was like my first year in college. I didn't hear Made You Look outside at all, okay? In fact, and I'll show you what I mean here. This says it was released September 22nd. If you look at Wanksta was already, it says November 5, 2002. I feel like Wanksta was probably buzzing in the streets even earlier than that. But my point is that Wanksta Wanksta crushed buildings, okay? When 50 came out, and this is really interesting because when I think about this, I feel like Made You Look would have been a way bigger song. You're following my logic here. Or, I mean, it was already a big song. I mean, it was certainly among heads. But I think the song would have actually been even a little bit bigger. But 50 came out of nowhere and crushed shit, okay? Because Wanksta was a problem. For those of y'all who were around, y'all remember those days. And it was like, once Wanksta came out and that 50 run began, it was over. It was a wrap. It was like almost like you didn't hear anything new, or I wasn't really paying attention to new rap for like a good year and a half. I feel like I didn't hear Made You Look at all. I think I was in the Bronx December of 2002, and I might have heard Made You Look once, like out of one car. I might have heard the beat and thought it was like, this kind of seems a little boring. Again, you have to think, I'm young, college, right? Wanksta's the new style, the new beat, kind of, that 50, it's very clean, right? It's clean, it's still rugged, it's still raw, but it's clean, right? And Made You Look is like some throwback shit. So the point is that Wanksta came out and literally crushed buildings. And then In the Club, I mean, I'll have to do a separate video for In the Club, because In the Club is the biggest rap song I've ever experienced in my life. Hands down. I was too young for Snoop, Gin and Juice, so I don't know if I've heard that Snoop was a big deal, but I think that this was something else. Like, this was literally my first year in college when the song came out. And I remember being in the Bronx at the time, and my older cousin was like, yo, wait till you hear In the Club, and it leaked. I've talked about this in my previous 50 video. But you can look at that date. This stuff came out like early in the year of 2003. Like, there wasn't no summertime record. It came out like during winter. And that's why I'm saying for a song like this, the way it transformed clubbing at that time, I remember it was some other shit. And you look at that and it was just like, then it was Magic Stick that came out after that, April 2003. And then it was 21 Questions. When did 21 Questions come out? March. Like, it was just like 50 was dominating. I haven't seen nothing like this. You have to understand that 50 was the biggest thing moving. That's why when people talk about big songs, I just don't even listen to that shit, because they'll never be what 50 was in its prime. You know, that was some other ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at these slots right here. These are the hip hop singles, top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. Peak position. Look at how 50 is literally in this top 10 slots, of highest position. 50's there 4 times, right? It's ridiculous. Like, he was dominating the shit out of stuff. And then there was other people, right? Like Nelly and Chingy, right? Chingy was also, it's interesting. Chingy was huge. No one talks about Chingy now, but obviously 50 is still that guy. So my point is that, like, if if you even look like 50, I remember I had a classmate. Well, he was a year older than me, but in college as well. And this dude actually kind of looked like 50, had the same build. He was a muscular cat, had almost like the same face as 50. My man, this dude would smash everything. in the club. I like literally he was going home with something every night. That's crazy. When you are pulling chicks because you look like a certain dude, like that's what it means. Like 50 was arguably the most desirable black man on the planet in 2003. I kid you not. Real shit. Look it up. I can't think of anyone else, especially obviously in the urban side of things. So you can only imagine what Yayo and them were smashing, yo. Like that shit, like it was huge. And that's why when he pulled Vivica, it's interesting because we all saw it in a way. Vivica was kind of, I mean, she wasn't waning, but she was kind of on, you know, she had like, what was that movie? Kill Bill. So she was still the hot black woman to a certain extent, but in a way, actually, 50 made her hot again. Like, and I don't want to disrespect Vivica by saying that, because Vivica is fine as hell, and Vivica was definitely the it girl at one point. But my point is that when 50 went and was like, yo, and stepped out Vivica, I see why Vivica was like, oh, right, and she just like probably fell, you know, head over heels or whatever for 50, because 50 was that dude. Like, I kid you not. Anyway, the point is that, you know, you look at this chart, and if you scroll, like now here you see Nas, right? On the 12th position, that's when in the Billboard, I Can peaked. And that was on Godson. I did hear I Can in real time, but I was like, I didn't, you know, it was corny. And I didn't really think of it. Obviously, I think that song is brilliant now, and I do think it's one of those underrated Nas songs. But again, at that time, 50's coming through, crushing buildings. I Can, it's not really what I'm trying to listen to, right? So the point is that it really took like a good year and a half before I think I even really gave Made You Look a real listen. Like, that's how crazy shit was at that time. I mean, look, 2003, bro, you had the Black Album, Jay was coming through, and then Dipset was coming around that time. And I wasn't a big fan of Dipset, but again, just the noise, 50, Dipset, Jay, right? So 2004 was probably when I first heard Made You Look, or late 2003, I don't even remember. But I know that there was at least a year after the song was released. And also coincidentally tied in with the 10-year anniversary of Illmatic. And that's when I kind of went into a Nas deep dive. Because I think I've mentioned this. I was in the club and the DJ put on Star Wars. And this was on the 10-year anniversary disc. But he had the vinyl for Star Wars. This is before they released the actual 2-disc 10-year anniversary. And so I first heard Star Wars in the club, and I was like, and I was like, what is this shit? He's like, oh, this is a new Nas record. I was like, whoa. And that's, again, just started this whole Illmatic and Nas. And that's, in a way, actually, I would say that's really when I like became a big Nas fan. Because, of course, I'd heard Stillmatic, and I'd heard It Was Written and Nostradamus, but I was like, I was into Nas, but I wasn't crazy about him. I love Nas's, like, again, but this era, going back, once I did the rewind back to Illmatic, and then hearing all the Large Professor stuff, the unreleased stuff, so I was looking so forward to Street's Disciple, and that was, you know, really disappointing. But that's beside the point. Anyway, I heard this afterward. This is a long preamble to basically say how much I love this record. I can talk about this for hours. But I remember actually the first time really listening to it with my boy, and he was into rap as well. And I remember when it came to the chorus, and he was like, "You a slave to a page in my rhyme book." And I remember we like stopped it, and we were like, "Slave to a page." Oh shit! Like, this shit is fucking crazy, man. I mean, what an ill line, man. It just was like, boom, blew. I mean, it was really the chorus to me that hit me hard. I mean, I thought the song was dope, but it's only obviously in hindsight, as you watch it, you're listening to it over and over again, you're like, yo, this beat is crazy, and the rhymes are crazy. But it was definitely that chorus right away that was just like, wow. And then eventually, of course, when I saw the video, I really fell in love with the video. And everything in this is like, it's almost like every frame of this shit is like a painting in a way. It's shot that well. You could almost freeze frame everything here, and it has a certain essence to it. And I will say, like, maybe 2 years ago, and I think y'all even witnessed this on my channel, like, this shit, I was obsessed with this video like 2 years ago. To the point where this whole bucket hat shit started with Made You Look. Because for whatever reason, I started watching Made You Look all over again, and I was just like, man, this nigga was so fly with this shit. Like, I need to step my shit up. Like, I need to, you know, I should start wearing bucket hats or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just to get, I was just feeling that throwback, like I just want to rock that bucket hat shit. So anyway, we'll start the video and let's talk about it. I love this quote. It's an interesting quote. Rudyard Kipling, I believe I've read one of his books. It was a long time ago. But I think it's an interesting start off with a quote. Again, this is very Nas-like. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, almost King Arthur. You know, you start off with like Sword in the Stone, some kind of fantasy quote, like right before the movie. There was once, a young man who would become king. You know, it's, again, like, this stuff is smart when people do these kind of things, right? Like, they're trying to show you Nas is like, he's one of one, and really. And I know that's an overused phrase, but I don't think I've seen a hip-hop video before or since that starts off with a literature quote. Can't think of one. So obviously you already know you're entering rarefied air. But let's go. And he's like, oh, that shit. Hold shit, fire. See, I could stop this a million times. I love, again, ladies, I keep saying, yo, this is fucking ill. This is such an ill poster with the bucket hat. You can't see the eyes, godson, right? Niggas is moving through the club. We're about to get it in. The ladies got the bucket hats. They hip hop. The B girls, shout out to the B girls. We love the B girls too, right? And the ladies are rocking. Again, like, you know, it's not all this guy shit, right? I want to see the ladies too, right? Ladies with the heart, you know, enjoying a hard record. That shit's sexy. So, you know, they're moving in. Boom. This is crazy. Hey. This is just some live show shit. Real simple. Let's go. Let's keep it all in perspective. In this song y'all can step with. Okay, let me stop there. Then let's get it all in perspective. Whew. With the military green bucket hat. This is literally, I was watching this shit and it's just like, Nas look like the flyest nigga ever, man. And this is why we fuck with Nas. We look at this dude, the golden child. A1 rap voice, A1 lyrics, A1 looks. Looks are important, okay? Let's be real here. He's a handsome cat. He's a stylish cat. He seems like a cool dude. He seems like the kind of cat you'd want to hang around. You know what I'm saying? So, can put you up on some new style tips and shit. And look at the way this shit, the tilt. And it's just, the whole shit is fucking dope.
Y'all enjoy me the song y'all can step with. Y'all appointed me to bring rap justice, but I ain't 5-0. Y'all know it's Nas, yo.
It's interesting. I don't know why they chose to start in Harlem. But again, I love that obviously you'll see they go through the different boroughs. And anyways, it's cool that they did. I don't have a problem with them starting in Harlem. I wonder if that was part of a statement or it just, maybe he didn't want to start in Queens because that would make it seem like he was the bridge is over thing again, or like saying that the bridge type of scenario where it's like we invented hip hop. Queens might still be dealing with that kind of shit, so maybe he didn't want to kick that off. I will say though that I think it's interesting that Staten Island is not in this video, and I wonder how people from Staten Island felt about that because they weren't even mentioned, and it's the same old story all over again about how Staten Island gets no love. I don't even think in all the times I've been to New York, I might have driven through Staten Island once. I might have been is it a Farazano or whatever? I think I've been on that bridge, but I don't think I've even literally stepped foot in Staten Island like that. That goes to show you, man, Staten Island is really disconnected. Like, yeah, you would talk to a girl here and there, she's from Staten Island, but she would come to Brooklyn and hang with you, So, anyway.
Grey Goose
and then a whole lot of hydro.
Only describe us as soldiers, survivors. Stay laced in the best, well dressed with finesse in the white tee. Looking for white heat.
Yo, I love that, man. I love that. Jungle. That's right. Young.
Looking for white
See all the mannerisms, the dance, because all this is dance, really, at the grand scheme of things. It's dance. It's not like necessarily like some kid and play shit, but it's all dance. It's street, right? It's street dance in the sense of gestures to movements, Again, hip hop's about dancing, man. If your shit don't make you want to rock or something like that, shit's probably not very good.
fly and talk so nicely. Put her in the coupe so she can feel the nice breeze.
I love that
Drive
nice
through the city, no doubt, but don't say my
so
car's
ill.
topless.
City titties is out. Facts.
Newness, here's the anthem. Put your hand up that you wish with. Count your loot with. Push the pool stick in your new crib.
Same hand that you hoop with. Swing around like you stupid. I love that.
King of the town.
See, as a b-ball guy, I love that shit. That was again like street ball, right? Harlem Rocket. Like, this is just so New York to me. Like, and again, at this time I was in Canada, but you look at stuff like this, you're like, yo, New York seems ill. Anyway,
yeah, I've been there.
Queensbridge.
Where you and your men's at?
Yup.
Through the Smurf,
Through the WAP baseball bat. You know what I think is really interesting? So, this shot of Queens with the factories, actually, I actually really like this shot, because truth is, if you've been to Queens, and those of you who are from Queens know that there's a fair amount of these, and I'm trying to remember, I've been around some of these areas. I forget now exactly where in Queens, but I know a few things. Anyway, we're not getting too deep into it, but in a way, you know, you see the factories and smoke or whatever, and sort of these like big buildings that you don't necessarily see this kind of shit in Brooklyn, at least from what I saw when I was living in Brooklyn, in my part of Brooklyn. And what I do think is interesting is that Queens, comparing it to Scarborough, for example, in Toronto, like, you would see stuff like this in Scarborough. You're not going to necessarily see this in downtown Toronto or even so much in the West End. But once you start getting into Scarborough, it's like warehouses and open space and stuff, right? Anyway, just something to think about.
Baseball bat,
rooftop like you're bringing 88 back. Boom! Now, the other thing I want to say is, obviously, I have been to Queensbridge twice, but literally on some just like almost like literally like a tourist. Like, I just walked. I think I walked into the bridge. I don't even remember where it was, just to take a look. I don't know nobody from the bridge, so I wasn't trying to really go through, too deep into it. But it's huge. Like, I was stunned at how big it was. Like, it really is like when you get to Queensbridge, it's just like, you just see, it's like towers. It's just like tower, and it's like there's north, south, and it's just like, where the fuck am I type of thing. So I do think it's interesting. Like, Queensbridge really is like, it's a city in itself, quote unquote. I mean, it's not necessarily a city, but I understand when people are talking about like the bridge is a thing, right? Because it is a huge place, or I should say a dense place.
Made you look. You a slave to a page in my rhyme book. Getting big money, playboy, your time's up. With them gangsters, with them dimes at. Made you look. You a slave to a page in my rhyme
now here's my favorite part.
Big money,
this
playboy,
part.
Your time's up.
That's it. The rewind. When he hits you with the rewind, I was like, this is fucking ill. That shit's
time's up.
Time's up. Like, if I was to say, listen, like, literally what hip hop looks like, again, aliens show up. What does hip hop look like? That's what hip hop looks like, right there. Hat tilted to the side. I'm somewhere in Brooklyn with streets, right? I got the nice watch on with the chain, and I'm rapping some fly shit. I'm talking to the beats crazy. That's hip hop. This ain't rapping, this is street hop.
Now get up off your head like your seat's hot.
My live niggas.
Lit up the trunk of the car, we got the
rest in peace.
Won't be none. No reason for your man's to panic. You don't want to see
this
no
shit so ill.
Knock a
pimp straight down in his pimp cup. That's the way you get Timberland up junk.
Let the music diffuse all attention. Baller convention, free admission.
Hustlers, dealers, and killers can move swift. Girls get close, you can feel where the tools kept. I love this, like, the dude in the corner, in the left hand side with the LWO, whatever that is.
Get money, leave the beef alone slowly. Get out my face, you people so phony.
Pull out of my weight. Bro, and the way, even when it's censored, like, anyway, this is so fly to me, man. This is so fly.
You a slave to a page.
This is the shit that you start doing shit, niggas want to look like you and all that. That's when you know you run shit. Made you look.
You a slave to a page in my rhyme book.
In big money, playboy, your time's up.
With them gangsters, with them dimes at.
But you know my favorite part of this whole video? This is great. This whole video is classic. But my absolute favorite part is coming up. That just like, for whatever reason, just hits me, man. This part, the Bronx. Let's go. I fucked that up. Okay. This part with the Bronx. Yeah, man. Woo! So this is so dope to me on multiple levels. The shot is incredible, right? The trains going overhead as they're advancing. Again, taking it right back to hip hop. Because even that's whatever scratching thing that Salam Remy did, which was brilliant, to me just sounds like Metropolis. Like when I hear it, I think trains, I think people moving around, right? Like big Metropolis activity, that kind of thing. Graffiti, like it literally, that's what it sounds like. Obviously the beat itself is literal hip hop foundation shit. But I love this shot. I love how they're advancing. Of course, I love how, you got the Hispanic folk. You know what I'm saying? Again, like hip hop to me is about world culture. It's about embracing others as well, right? So that unity, right? You guys know what I know. Shout out to all my Hispanic folk, right? That black and brown unity, right? So this shot to me is fire, right? And then with Pun, with Pun, that shit makes me feel away, man. I have family members that like kind of live close to Soundview anyway, but that's beside the point. But yeah, it's great to see that Pun mural, and it cuts to that shit. This shit's brilliant, man. And then Salam's going nuts with the freaking scratching, whatever. And then you see Jungle like, let's go, nigga. Fat Joe, me mugging, and Jungle's in the background like on some like, let's go, nigga, what it is. Come on, man. I'm sorry. I'm keep rewinding the shit. Look at that movement. The movement is nasty. The movement is crazy. This is, again, I was watching this shit like, man, I gotta get a fucking bucket. Let's gotta start rocking the chain, like, Find your punk says, like Pun said, you ain't even in me class. TV plasma, ladies looking for athletes or rappers. Kiss, whatever you do, make sure he a thug and intelligent too. Thoroughbred is how the head is. Females is the sexiest, is always the nastiest, and I like a little sassiness. Out of class, mommy, reaching your bag past the fifth. I'm a leader at last. This a dawn you with, man. I'm losing it with this shit. Look at that. Past the fifth. Like just the way that this shit. This is hip hop. This is hip hop. This is the shit that like niggas went, yo, right? Fantastic video. Like I said, probably my favorite Nas video ever. Now that I think about it, up there with Nas's Like. Nas's Like is another one that I love, but this one was more like Nas's Like was cool because it was very it was lo-fi, right? It was, he's in his apartment, he's taking it back to what, the real projects. It was dope. But this one was just ill to me, man, because it's like all the different boroughs, and he's just encapsulating New York, and he's like uniting hip hop. It's very kingly, like I said, Sword in the Stone type shit. Starts off with those quotes, right? So yeah, man, this is the great shit, man. This is the stuff that obviously they don't make them like this no more. And yeah, I remember, and again, over time, obviously people started to really gravitate. Again, I didn't really hear this record played. Like, at least when I was in Toronto, then I moved to Montreal around 2004-ish. So yeah, and I would hear it in clubs, in hip hop spots for sure. And then over time, I feel like people, it's one of those things. People warm up to it, and that's why I think it's important. I always stress how, like, someone made this excellent joke about how I'm like, yo, like even Beethoven wasn't up on this shit. That's a hilarious joke to the person that said that, by the way, and I feel you. Like, but I guess what I'm trying to really stress is, like, if you're an artist or you're just someone in general, you have a vision, like, don't be discouraged when people don't get it right away. There's always going to be people that get it right away, and probably a lot of people that don't. But ultimately, over time, people get stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and especially when it's brilliant. It's and I would argue even especially these days, it's tough because the brilliant shit, it takes a minute. Like you're kind of coming out with something a little different, right? People need to sit with it and appreciate it. I gave you a perfect example with Made You Look. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to even appreciate Made You Look, and I was listening to rap heavy at that time, right? It took me being like hanging with my peoples, like more like away from the fog of 50, and then it was like, yo, this is the shit. By the way, before I go, I want to shout out, I promised to do this for those of y'all who guessed right on my You're Not the Only One Who Think Lord Jamar Sucks. I never got to it, so let me shout y'all out, because some of y'all got it right on the money. Prince J, what up, man? You got it right on the money. I think I revealed it when I said it was a rapper from the late 80s that was running his mouth. Good video, by the way. So if y'all haven't seen that, let's see who else. It's not about Big Sean. I don't necessarily want to talk about Big Sean. It's just too boring. Let's see. The toss-up between Lord Jamar and Busta Rhymes. Well, shout out Trey Titan 176. And HTYFG11. Shout out to you. See, this is where I messed up at. I let the cat out the bag. Nah, but this rapper's from the late 80s and running his mouth. Faraz Osi, shout out to you, my man. Thank you, man. Always. And let's see who else got it. And Milano. You're right on the money. And King Low, LXO, of course, I had to, man. He was talking shit about Canadians. I mean, these guys are too stupid, man. They don't understand, yo, Canadians. Listen, man, a lot of stuff in the black Americans have jacked a lot of shit from other places, other black diaspora. That's a fact. That's a whole fact, okay? And I don't even look at it as jacking, real shit. I look at it as cultural exchange. We're all kind of one people anyway. So this idea of like ADOS and shit is the dumbest shit ever. I've said this before. Like, we all talk to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm Pan-African at my core. My father was Pan-African. My father grew up on James Brown and Isaac Hayes. Those were his favorite artists. And he was listening to them niggas in Nigeria. James Brown came to Nigeria. A lot of people might not understand this, but like, the world is not a small, like, it's a small place and it's a big place at the same time. And your favorite artists in the 60s, 70s were coming to Africa and performing and getting sauce from us while we were getting sauce from y'all. So again, I don't really like this idea when people try to, you know, put borders on us. That's some white supremacy shit. Best believe. Anyway, who else got it? Jenna Lucas. I did this already. I put I should have just like left that one alone, but anyway, so the point is, shout out to all of y'all, and generally, man, I really appreciate all the comments, and I love that y'all are active and say how you feel, because that's what makes, you know, the channel so ill. All right, so much love to y'all. Peace.